What if the strange things happening in your body aren't symptoms, but signs? Why do you feel like your body no longer belongs to you? Why are you crying for no reason, losing weight without trying, or staring into the mirror wondering, who am I now? We've been taught to believe that spiritual awakening is calm, that it means long meditations, endless peace, and glowing smiles. But for many, the real awakening begins when everything starts to break down, from the inside out. What if your body isn't breaking down, but breaking open? You see, after 20 years of studying Buddhist teachings, I've learned that the first thing to awaken is not your mind, but your body. Because the body remembers, the body reveals, the body releases what the soul can no longer carry. I used to think I was getting sick, but now I know I was being called home. If something strange is happening in your body right now, stay with me. What you're feeling is not random, it's sacred. Before we explore the signs, let's understand why the body awakens first. Why the body awakens first? Have you ever felt like your body knows something before your mind does? That tremble in your hand, the tightness in your chest, or those random tears that fall without warning? You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not too sensitive. Your body is simply the first to wake up. In Zen Buddhism, we say the body is the gateway to the truth the mind resists. Why? Because while the mind rationalizes, the body remembers. It holds on to every suppressed emotion, every untold story, every unhealed wound, quietly, patiently. I used to think healing would come from thinking harder, meditating longer, or chanting louder. But my awakening began when I started to listen to my body. And it spoke through insomnia, trembling, and exhaustion. What if your anxiety isn't anxiety, but suppressed energy asking to be seen? According to trauma psychology, the body stores unresolved experiences like a vault, especially those we were too overwhelmed to process at the time. You didn't overreact, you survived. But now that you're ready to evolve, your body starts unlocking what was buried. Scientifically, this isn't far-fetched. Stress and trauma alter your nervous system, your hormonal balance, and even the way your immune system functions. Ever noticed how some people carry their pain in their gut, their shoulders, or their skin? That's no coincidence. It's biology echoing emotion. And yet, we try to stretch it out, sweat it out, scroll it away. Funny how we'll listen to a horoscope app, but ignore the sacred signals from our own body. What if your body has been whispering for years, and you're only now starting to hear it? From the Buddhist lens, we're taught that the body is not an obstacle, it's the first teacher. Your stomach tightens not to punish you, but to alert you. Your breath shortens not to make life harder, but to show you what you've been avoiding. And here's a twist that surprised even me. In the law of attraction, we often talk about raising your vibration, but few realize that your body has to catch up to that shift. When you start healing emotionally or spiritually, your cells, organs, and energy systems go through a realignment. It can feel like fatigue, nausea, or emotional waves. This isn't regression, it's recalibration. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't understand any of this at first. Years ago, I went through a period where I couldn't sleep, lost weight rapidly, and felt like crying for no reason. I thought I was falling apart. Turns out, I was falling into truth. What if your symptoms aren't signs of decline, but of evolution? Imagine your body as a loyal dog, following you for years, taking on every burden you refuse to carry. But one day that dog stops, looks you in the eyes and says, "It's time we let this go." That moment is sacred. It's the beginning of your spiritual awakening. But be warned, the mind will resist. It'll say, "This is strange. Get a diagnosis. Take a pill. Hide this." And yet deep down, you know, this is something more, something sacred. So what can you do? Start simple. Slow down. Ask your body what it's trying to say. Stop labeling every sensation as bad. Sometimes trembling is just truth moving through you. I believe the body awakens first because it's the part of you you can't lie to. You can fake a smile, you can distract your mind, but when your body starts to speak, you listen. And honestly, it's the most loyal spiritual guide you'll ever have. So, have you noticed any strange shifts in your body lately? Let me know in the comments. You're probably not the only one. Now that we understand why the body is the first to respond to your awakening, let's explore one of the most noticeable signs: your changing weight and energy. The body's release: weight, tears, and vibration. Losing weight without dieting. Crying when nothing is wrong. This isn't dysfunction. This is transformation. It often starts subtly. You notice your jeans feel looser. You cry in the shower for reasons you can't name. You wake up lighter, not just in your body, but in your energy. Most people think healing begins in the mind, but often it begins in the body through a quiet release. What if shedding weight wasn't about calories, but emotional density leaving your system? In my 20 years of Buddhist practice, I've learned that suffering often hides in the places we ignore most: our hips, our belly, our back. According to Zen, the body is not just a vessel, but a storage house of karma. Every unspoken fear, every repressed grief, every "I'm fine" you told others when you weren't, gets stored somewhere. And then one day, when your soul is finally ready to move forward, your body begins to let go. I remember one night I broke down crying. No trigger, no thought, no pain I could name. Just waves, soft and steady, like rain falling inside me. It wasn't sadness, it was released. Maybe your tears aren't a breakdown, they're a breakthrough. In psychology, we call this somatic release. Emotions are energy, and energy, if not expressed, gets compressed. Crying, trembling, yawning, even spontaneous laughter. They're not weaknesses. They're your nervous system saying, "Finally, I can breathe." Scientifically, this is mirrored in how cortisol, the stress hormone, is stored and released. Chronic stress leads to inflammation, water retention, and weight gain. So when you release emotional trauma, you often release weight. Literally, it's not woo-woo, it's neurobiology. And in the lens of the law of attraction, this is crucial. To attract a higher frequency reality, your energy field has to vibrate higher. And the body, it's the antenna. If your body is clogged with past pain, your signal is distorted. But as you release through tears, movement, stillness, or even rest, you begin to broadcast a clearer vibration. Funny how we chase glow-up routines on TikTok, when sometimes all your soul needs is a good cry, a long nap, and a quiet walk. Now here's the twist. Not all release feels good. Sometimes you'll gain weight before you lose it. Sometimes you'll feel bloated, tired, and even emotionally flat. This is not failure. This is fluctuation. Imagine shaking a snow globe. Things get cloudy before they settle. Your body too needs time to reintegrate. So if you felt emotionally weird lately, teary, numb, heavy, or floaty, welcome. You're not off track. You're unraveling the past to make space for who you're becoming. What if your body already knows how to heal? If only you'd stop interrupting it. And here's a little Zen trick I use. Every time I feel off, I don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" I ask, "What is ready to be released?" That shift in language turns fear into trust, resistance into reverence. Because from a Buddhist lens, attachment causes suffering, even attachment to emotional heaviness we've worn for years like armor. But once you let it go, you'll be amazed how light you feel, not just physically, but spiritually. One last thought, and it's a personal one. I used to be terrified of crying. I thought it made me look weak. But now, I see it as the soul's way of washing the windows of the heart. Let it rain, my friend. Your clarity is coming. So tell me, have you cried recently without knowing why? If so, trust it. Your soul is speaking. Now that we've explored the body's sacred language of release, let's move to something more visible, yet just as profound. The eyes, the mirror of your awakening. Your eyes are waking up. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like someone else was looking back? When your soul starts to awaken, it doesn't begin with fireworks or dramatic life changes. Sometimes it starts with something far more subtle and far more sacred. Your eyes. Yes, your eyes, not your thoughts, not your beliefs, but the windows through which your soul peers into this world. An old Zen saying is, the face may lie, the mouth may deceive, but the eyes always speak the truth. And if you've noticed your eyes looking brighter lately, more alive, or even somehow softer, this isn't cosmetic, it's consciousness. What if the light in your eyes isn't just a reflection, but a revelation? In Buddhist philosophy, the eyes are seen as direct mirrors of your internal state, your clarity, your presence, your satori, awakening. When you are clouded by fear, guilt, or illusion, your eyes dim. But when your spirit rises, they shine without needing to try. I'll never forget the first time I saw it myself. I was washing my face, just another ordinary night. But when I looked up, I paused. There was something different. Not just in appearance, but in energy. The eyes looking back at me felt ancient, clear, awake. Maybe your eyes aren't changing. Maybe you're finally seeing the real you for the first time. From a psychological view, your eyes reflect the state of your nervous system. Stress constricts blood flow, tightens facial muscles, and narrows your pupils. Calmness, on the other hand, relaxes your gaze, softens your face, and increases light reflection in the eyes. In simple terms, your eyes glow when you're aligned with peace. Science confirms what the sages knew all along. And the law of attraction? It speaks through the eyes too. Your vibration, your frequency, is expressed through your entire aura. But the eyes? They're the first thing people feel when they look at you. You might not say a word, but your gaze can pull someone in or push them away. Your awakened eyes are magnetic, and that's not poetic. That's energetic physics. Now, just to keep things real, yes, some people do notice a change in eye color or lightness. Will your blue eyes suddenly turn gold? Probably not. But people may say, "You look different. Did you change something?" You didn't. You uncovered something. The truth is, most of us have been hiding behind our eyes for years. We've trained them to smile when we don't mean it. We've looked away when we should have stood up. But when you begin to live from your soul, not your ego, your gaze changes. It no longer seeks approval. It simply sees. And here's the best part. You can't fake it. You can't pose your way to this. You don't need ring lights or filters. Awakened eyes come only when the heart is clear. A little humor here. If eyes are the windows to the soul, mine used to need Windex. Ha 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 ha. Now, they're a bit foggy on Mondays, but generally open for business. My point is, when your eyes change, it's not about looks. It's about presence. People may start to say, "You feel different," and they're right. You are. So I ask you, when was the last time you looked into your own eyes, not to fix something, but to feel something? Look again tonight. What are they showing you? But here's the thing. These outer shifts are just the beginning, because once your eyes awaken, something far deeper begins to dissolve. The part of you that was never really you to begin with. Let's talk about the death of the ego. The death of who you used to be. What if you're not falling apart, but finally falling into who you are? There comes a moment on the spiritual path when things stop making sense. You don't recognize yourself in your thoughts, your clothes, your friends, or even your voice. You feel disconnected, not just from the world, but from the version of you that once felt so solid. What if feeling lost is the first sign you're finally waking up? This is what we call ego death. And despite how poetic that may sound, it often feels like grief. In Buddhism, we understand the self or ego as a temporary construction. Not evil, not wrong, just incomplete. The ego is a mask built from stories, roles, and expectations we inherited. But when awakening begins, that mask starts to crumble. It's not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. I remember sitting in the shower, crying, holding my knees. Not because something bad had happened, but because I didn't know who I was anymore. And strangely, that terrified me and liberated me at the same time. The pain wasn't from the change, it was from resisting change. From a psychological lens, this is a classic identity disruption, an existential crisis that often precedes personal transformation. Carl Jung called this the night sea journey, a dark passage where everything familiar vanishes so that something deeper can be born. And the law of attraction, it teaches us that to receive a new vibration, you must release the old. You can't manifest a new life while clinging to the patterns that built the old one. Here's a simple metaphor. Imagine trying to upgrade your phone software, but refusing to let go of outdated apps, corrupted files, and 25,000 unsent photos. You can't install something new until you delete what no longer serves. And let's be real, your ego will scream during this process. It'll say things like, "You're losing everything. You're going crazy. You'll end up alone." But none of that is true. It's fear. And fear is the ego's favorite language. That's why in Zen, we don't fight the ego. We observe it. We don't destroy the ego. We outgrow it. Like a snake shedding its skin, we let the old self fall away, naturally, gracefully, even gratefully. What if who you're becoming is the self you've always been? Let me say this clearly. You are not your job title. You are not your trauma. You are not your body, your bank account, your relationship status, or even your spiritual label. You are the space that watches all of it come and go. Now, because I believe in lightness, let me add this. The ego doesn't go down without drama. It's like a bad actor on stage yelling, "Don't forget me," while the curtains close. Let it have its moment. Just don't give it the microphone anymore. So if you feel like your life is unraveling, if you're questioning everything, good. That's the moment truth begins. That's when the soul finally has room to breathe. If you feel like you're falling apart, maybe you're just finally falling into truth. Drop a comment if you felt this too. You're not alone in this shift. And once the ego steps aside, even just a little, something incredible begins to happen. You start to feel things you never noticed before, not just emotionally, but energetically. Let's explore your rising sensitivity in a whole new way. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it's a superpower. What if feeling too much was never your flaw, but your hidden gift? Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly sensed tension, even before anyone said a word, or felt someone's sadness behind their smile, and then questioned yourself for making it up? What if the problem was never your sensitivity, but the world's numbness? In the early stages of spiritual awakening, your senses start to amplify. You don't just think more, you feel more. You cry more, sense more, absorb more. To many, that feels overwhelming. To a Buddhist, it feels like the beginning of truth. In Zen, there's a phrase, "Not knowing is most intimate." It means, the moment you drop the mind's defenses and logic, you feel into reality. And that's where real knowing begins. Not in your head, but in your nervous system. Psychology backs this up. As your inner trauma clears, your nervous system becomes less armored. You're no longer dissociating or numbing. You're finally present. And being fully present, that means feeling everything. The joy, the tension, the heartbreak, the beauty, all at once. The reason you feel too much isn't because you're broken, it's because you're finally available to life. I remember a moment on the subway. I looked at a stranger across from me and suddenly, tears welled up. Not mine, theirs. I felt their grief like it was my own, and it scared me. But here's what I've learned. Sensitivity isn't about fragility, it's about frequency. You're picking up on what others miss. That's not dysfunction, that's evolution. Scientifically, this mirrors how the vagus nerve regulates your emotional sensitivity. A calm nervous system is more perceptive. A chronically stressed one is numb. So if you're feeling more lately, congrats. That means you're healing. Now let's bring in the law of attraction. Your vibration attracts your reality. If your chakras, the body's energy centers, are opening, your sensitivity increases. You start tuning into people's energy, rooms, conversations, even nature. At a subtle but undeniable level, you begin to hear the language beneath the words. That's why learning energetic boundaries is essential. Not everyone's pain is yours to carry. Not every emotion you feel belongs to you. What if half the pain you've been processing never belonged to you in the first place? Here's what changed my life. I stopped trying to block what I felt and started learning how to filter it. Now I treat energy like I treat sunlight. Step into it when it nourishes. Step back when it burns. And let me say this, especially if you've ever been called too emotional or overly sensitive, you are the kind of person this world needs more of. We have enough people who think fast and speak loudly, but those who feel deeply, that's sacred. Let's lighten the mood for a second. Some days my sensitivity feels like a superpower. Other days it feels like my inner Wi-Fi is picking up everyone else's notifications but mine. Still, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because your sensitivity helps you know, not just intellectually, but intuitively. You know when someone's lying. You know when something's off. You know when your soul says yes, even if your brain says wait. So let me ask you, have you been feeling everything a little too deeply lately? Let me know in the comments. You're not crazy, you're just awake. And when you begin to own that sensitivity, not as a curse, but as a compass, you'll start to notice something else. You begin to attract what you once had to chase. Let's talk about the acceleration of manifestation. The acceleration of manifestation. What if your thoughts were seeds and now they're growing faster than ever? Have you noticed lately that things are happening faster, that ideas become opportunities, that emotions become outcomes, that what you think seems to show up in your life almost instantly? What if you're not imagining the speed? What if it's a sign that your energy field is accelerating? This is a core teaching in the law of attraction, one that most people hear but don't fully feel until the awakening begins. As your vibration rises, your manifestations speed up. But here's the twist. That includes both the things you desire and the things you haven't yet healed. Let me explain. When you're still operating from a heavy unconscious vibration, like fear, doubt, or guilt, life moves slowly, like a freight train dragging emotional baggage. You try to manifest love, but fear sabotages it. You want abundance, but scarcity lingers in the background. But when you begin healing, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, your inner train starts speeding up. You shift from that slow, overloaded freight train to a sleek, magnetic bullet train. The good news? You're moving faster. The not-so-comfortable news? Everything is coming with you. I learned this the hard way. I once did a deep meditation to call in change. I said I was ready. I said, "Universe, I surrender." And within days, my job shifted. A relationship fell away, and old emotions bubbled up like boiling tea. For a second, I panicked. Wait, not this change. But then I remembered. I had asked for it. The universe wasn't punishing me. It was responding with speed and clarity. The faster you vibrate, the faster life reflects everything, light and shadow. Now don't be alarmed. This is not about fearing your thoughts. It's about becoming aware of them. This acceleration is a gift, a cosmic mirror. It's life saying, I trust you now. Let's co-create quickly. From a psychological standpoint, this phase mirrors what Jung called individuation, a stage where your unconscious material rises to the surface to be integrated. In simple terms, you become more you, more powerful, more energetically honest. And if you're wondering what science says, energy follows attention. Neurologically, the reticular activating system in your brain starts filtering reality based on what you focus on. The more you attune to love, synchronicity, and clarity, the more you see and attract it. Of course, it helps to keep a sense of humor. Sometimes it feels like the universe is Amazon priming your karma. You think about an ex, and they text you. You fear losing money, and a bill appears. But you also imagine peace, and a stranger smiles at you in silence. It goes both ways. This is why in Buddhism we emphasize mindfulness, not to control outcomes, but to purify intention. Because once the train starts moving, you don't want to be carrying extra fear in your luggage. So here's my suggestion. Start tending to your thoughts the way you would tend to a garden. Choose them with love. Water them with presence. Let the universe shine on what you're truly ready for. So, what have you been thinking about lately? And are you ready to watch it bloom? And here's the most beautiful part of all. When energy moves as fast, when manifestation becomes as sharp, you're gifted something precious, something many spend lifetimes seeking. Let's talk about spiritual clarity. Spiritual clarity, seeing the unseen. What if the truth was never hidden, just blurred by what you believed? One day you wake up and something feels different. You're not smarter. You haven't read a new book, but suddenly you see more. The words people use, the energy they carry, the silence between their sentences, it all becomes visible. It's like the fog has lifted. What if the world didn't change, but your perception finally did? In Buddhist philosophy, we call this min, the arising of clarity. It's not knowledge you acquire, it's the illusion you drop. You don't gain sight, you simply stop clouding your window. And that's the metaphor I love most. It's like you've been wearing dusty glasses your whole life, and now someone wipes them clean. Colors are brighter, faces are softer, pain is more visible, but so is truth. Scientifically, what's happening is profound. Your brain's default mode network, the part responsible for ego and filters, begins to quiet down. This allows deeper sensory processing, greater presence, and sharper intuition. You're not hallucinating. You're finally seeing what's there. Psychologically, it's the shift from projection to perception. You no longer react from your trauma. You respond from your awareness. You catch yourself before the trigger. You pause. You breathe. And suddenly you're not playing out old patterns. You're choosing. That's the power of spiritual clarity. You stop believing every thought. You stop trusting every mask. You stop needing every answer. It's not just what you see outside that becomes clearer, it's you too. You recognize your shadows, your old habits, your inherited stories. But instead of judging them, you simply bow and let them pass. Let me share a personal moment. I was in a conversation with someone I love deeply. Before I might have reacted defensively, but this time I felt it. Their fear is behind the anger. Their wound is behind the words. And for the first time, I didn't speak from my hurt. I spoke from my clarity. and the conversation changed because I had changed. What if most of your past drama wasn't reality, but the distortion of a foggy lens? In the law of attraction, this stage of awakening is critical. Clarity doesn't just help you receive your manifestations. It helps you recognize them. You no longer mistake chaos for passion. You stop attracting tests disguised as blessings because you know what you're aligned with. Now, I'll admit, this phase is both beautiful and lonely. Beautiful because life feels so real. Lonely because many around you are still living behind the fog. But don't let that discourage you. Your clarity is contagious. The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more clarity. People who can see the truth without attacking it. People who can hold truth without needing to prove it. Be that person. And hey, let's not be too serious here. Sometimes a spiritual clarity just means realizing, yes, that job is draining you. No, that friend isn't listening. And yes, you can trust that gut feeling you've been ignoring since Tuesday. Have you started seeing through the noise? Through the small talk, the shoulds, the masks? If so, trust that sight. You're not imagining it, you're evolving. You are not broken. You are breaking open. Everything you've been feeling in your body, every wave of fatigue, every sudden tear, every change in your weight, breath, or heartbeat, it's not random. It's sacred. It's your soul knocking on the door of your body, asking to come home. You're not going crazy. You're waking up. And your body is the first one brave enough to say yes. In Buddhism, we don't view change as something to fear. We see it as the unfolding of impermanence, the natural death of who you are not, and the gentle birth of who you truly are. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your confusion is not failure. These are signs that you are remembering your true nature beneath the noise. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this: your body is wise. Trust its language. Your path is sacred. Trust its rhythm. Your awakening is real. Trust yourself. If this spoke to your soul, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. What part of your awakening has been the most confusing or the most beautiful? And remember, you're not losing your mind. You're finding your way home.